All right. We are up and running and ready to get started. So let's get everything loaded up and we'll jump into today's drawing stream. All right, looks like we have video, everything loaded into the overlay. And so before we get started on today's character study, we need to set up some BGM for the session today. And it has been a hot minute since I've done any sort of stream sound exercises here on the channel. Last majority of our streams together have been cycling through the BGM playlist, which is why it's there. That's what it's there for. But I kind of want to get back to making some beats on the fly to use for the stream sounds collections later. I don't know if people were wondering if I was ever planning on doing that again, but the short answer is yes. I do need to practice with just the loop by itself without the aid of the synthesizer. So we're going to do that to start off, and I will set up a beat to use in the background, and then maybe I'll change it or do something in the second half of the stream. But I'm going to look at my loop off to the side here for a second while I get this set up, and then we will go ahead and move forward. And I have my regular settings set up, the same settings I use for the jam streams, so there shouldn't be any issue hearing me. And all the stuff is connected directly to the loop. So I will start tinkering around with some stuff, and then we will jump into the character study. Well, let's see. I was thinking maybe a moderate tempo beat. And let's see, we'll put reverb on. I'll make my volume a little bit louder on my playback so I can hear what I'm doing. We'll put that about there. And so what I'm going to do first is set up a kind of mid-tempo beat, then we'll add a bass line, and then think about maybe like a synth line to add, and do kind of like a quick 3-layer beat, and then that'll be thrown on in the background. I'll drop the volume down. So let's see, I'll experiment around with a couple things, and once I'm happy with the way it sounds, we'll continue. And maybe I could do this, that way people jumping on will know what I'm doing and there won't be any questions. There we go. All right, so let's see. Maybe we can do something like. We can add a bass line. I get to get used to using guitar to bass again. Right? I think that's functional for a baseline to start. Now we need something to complement the bass and the beat. Well, let me see if I can find a good synth. Hey, I see Iconics popping in to say hi. I just turned off my stuff so I can say what's up. Thanks for dropping in briefly, Iconic. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will take a drink on your behalf that hydrate. Also, what's up, Sarlad? Welcome to the stream. All right, let me see if I can get this effect to work. This is ring modulator that's making all the weird noises. I kind of wanted a background kind of synthy noise. So let's see if I can get it. All right, that's functional. I think we'll leave that there for now. We don't need to get super complex with it. This is just a background beat for us to use. Starlad says good, and you? I'm doing good, man. It's Sunday. Trying to get as much out of my day before I gotta go back to the grind tomorrow. Alright, I'm gonna leave the beat right there. Feel free to let me know if I need to tweak anything with it, if you can't hear it or if you can't hear me. Alright, so what are we doing today? We are returning to the character study, and it's been a hot minute since we've been working with this one. And I figured we can finally make some decisions on drawing a fully fleshed out male character after throwing a lot of ideas around and at the wall. So we'll start with the heads first. We need to come to a decision on which one we're going to use, because this is what we're going to actually draw on the pro tag. And thinking about the last one we did, I think that character had kind of medium length hair. So it would have been something similar to... get on the layer here. So it would have been something similar to this that we used on the previous one. So we don't want to do something that's similar. Go with something like this and then maybe make some minor tweaks. I kind of like the uneven swept hair. Very, very anime. Yeah, that could work. That can make my job easier, and I'll just copy paste this and sort of resize it on the sketch layer. And then when I actually draw the fully lined out piece, then I don't need to resketch all of the details. I should have done that last time, but I didn't. So let's put this above the torso and outfit sketches, and we can get rid of this layer. We'll get rid of the heads. We'll put you up here for now. Now we need to figure out which outfit we're going to draw, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that head and I'll size it appropriately enough to get it on the shoulders of the model that we're going to use, and then that's what I'm going to use to actually start lining everything. So I definitely like the kind of armored look. Number 1 sticks out. I think I'll start hiding the ones that I'm going to just rule out for now as a primary outfit, and then we can always bring them back. So these concepts aren't getting trashed. We're just moving them in order of priority. Three is alright too. I think I'll rule out 4. I have to move these over. 5 looks like this. 5 is also okay, but we'll eliminate that one. Oh, that's right. This is 6. 6 is the one that has the coat. I did say last time that I liked the coat. Yeah, okay. I'm going to rule out 1. 6 is now in the running. And this is 7. Nah, 7's okay. That would be an interesting alt outfit, but I'm going to rule that one out too. And here's 8. This one that has sort of high collar that would be covering the mouth. Also interesting. But yeah, I'm going to rule this one out, and it leaves us with 6 and 3. I like everything on 6 except for the bits on the arms and shoulders. So if we were to mark out what we're talking about here, 6. This part here, I think I'm going to change. We can do maybe kind of a armored shoulder, or even just more like an armored sleeve, or like an undershirt, instead of this kind of overly complicated texture. So that part, I think we can definitely change a little bit. The rest of it, sort of full armor from the neck down, the waist guard, and then the kind of coat on the bottom, I think is an interesting touch. So yeah, I'm going to go with some 6 with alterations. We'll do it that way. And then we'll toss 3 into the backup vault for now. And then ultimately we're going to be doing multiple outfits. We haven't gone on the secondary outfits for these characters yet, but that's the plan eventually. Now comes the challenge of right sizing this for the model without getting the proportions all messed up. So let's move you to the top. And I'm actually going to delete out the rough outline of the head, and that'll let me kind of see where I'm placing this thing on the shoulders a little bit better. We really only need the head. We don't need the neck, or maybe we don't need the neck beyond just a little bit below, like that. And it's okay if the lines don't match up. I can sketch that in to sort of make it match. And I'm going to merge these layers down. Because we did this as a bit more of a cleaner sketch when he did the faces way back at the beginning, that's why it's going to look a little bit different with the line weights compared to the rest of the outfit. And that's okay too. That just means we're going to have to be a little bit careful on the line art layer to make sure we're being consistent. And I think I'm actually going to do the line art at a lighter line width than what's on the sketch. The sketch is just to show all the details that went into the idea. Yeah, we don't need to go over it. It's fine. This is going to be just a rough sketch layer. Okay, that's functional. Now we'll merge these into a single layer. And now we're going to actually go in and start lining in the details. And now I gotta give some thought into things like color palette and other parts, since I usually do colored outlines on hair, so I'll have to think about hair color and everything as we proceed here. Okay, we'll start with about 7. That should be good. And for hair, I didn't think I was going to need to do this, but I think I'm going to go pull up the previous character model. That way I can compare and make sure I'm keeping my line weights consistent and everything else. It's been a while since we did that one. That was number 4, I want to say. Nope, it was number 3. Hey, Nocturnal's here. Nocturnal says, so sorry I'm late. Raku Sir just got back. Also, new profile pic. Nice. You don't have to apologize, Nocturnal. Like I said, show up when you can. It's all good. Welcome to the stream. Let's kick back and relax and work on some characters. Oh yeah, and I did change the profile pic just because I've had that one that I drew forever, and I figured I'd switch it up. So that was one that came from one of Wazi's streams that Pleps drew, and I just colored it in, and I use it as an avatar every once in a while. Well, that's why I changed it, just to switch things up a little bit. Yeah, that might actually be a little bit too thick on the line weight. Yeah, that's closer. That's close enough. real question is hair color. We can go an off green color. And for the hair, I usually go a few notes lower on the line weight since it tends to be a little bit thinner of a boundary. And we're doing this on a vector layer. Like last time, it'll make it a bit easier to assign colors once we get there. Nocturnal says, I don't know, sometimes I think it's possible to be thick. There's always a time and place for thickness. That is very true. But when we're doing line art, we want to be consistent with the other things that we've done. But there will be a time and place for thickness. Okay, we'll do a quick pass on the hair. Make sure we didn't miss any sections. Thankfully, there's not a lot. I picked a hairstyle that's not overly complex like some of the other ones that were on the potential list. Now we can go move on to everything else. Let's see, maybe I'm going to move this down a little bit. I'm just going to start lining in the other details. Be flipping our canvas back and forth, something I need to religiously remind myself to do, especially when working on faces. The rest of the model's not as big a deal. When doing things like the eyes and expressions, the really important tip for drawing is to make sure you flip your canvas every once in a while to make sure you're not skewing things when you draw, because it's a little bit difficult to tell working directly on a surface, but the eye tends to naturally skew in a direction. I think it's tied to your dominant hand and just your perspective. And so flipping your canvas allows you to see if you're obviously skewing too much, and you can kind of correct it on the fly, as opposed to getting towards the very end and realizing, you know, a face is lopsided or something like that. I think this one is pretty much on a line. That's good. We'll keep checking back and forth as we proceed here. kind of neutral expression. This isn't necessarily supposed to be like a frown per se, but this character's got kind of a stoic personality based on how we're sort of sketching out the preliminary ideas. So I think a kind of neutral stoic expression will be good. And these are concept pieces. I don't necessarily have a plan on what I'm going to use these characters for. If I ever need them, then we've got fully realized concepts on hand, and that's the point of the exercise. And also just to practice. I don't consider myself a really high-level character designer when it comes to this style. I like the manga-inspired style. So these streams are a way to practice. And now we could probably move out a ways. Don't necessarily have to be drawing so close in. And so now we need to be a little bit careful on the line weight, since we're inking over a layer that has these really thick, bold outlines. Maybe we'll go up to 7. We're going to need to split the difference because we're not going to go for this super bold outline. It was just part of the sketch layer. What I'd like to do is get the details on the torso sort of lined in here, and then I will figure out how I'm going to change the upper arm, shoulder, upper arm, bicep type area. I'll figure that whole situation out, since I mentioned I was going to change what's on the sketch layer, and I do intend to do that here. All right, let's take a look here. I kind of like the idea of a sort of textured, maybe more like a bodysuit that's covering the arms. And that was kind of the idea on the previous version. You could see on the underlayer on the sketch. But rather than make it so busy, I think we can streamline it a little bit. think I'm gonna change the orientation this a little. We're gonna have to eyeball it a bit, but that's fine. We're gonna move the arm in a little so it's not quite angled out as much. So it's gonna start to deviate from the sketch layer, but that's fine. Sketch layer is just a guide. It's just a guide with an idea for what we're doing. It's not the gospel, as it were. All right, let's start. Now we just kind of line up the hand. This is sort of like a fingerless glove situation. Remember that when I go into color everything. I need to clean up the lines on this arm guard thingy here. Since we're moving things around and kind of deviating from the sketch, I'm going to make sure our lines are clean. One of the tricky things about working on line art in vector, because it's doing it mathematically as opposed to just using pen input, sometimes it can get a little finicky when you're trying to delete out sections, but it makes your lines a lot easier to work with when it comes to coloring and keeping everything sort of crisp and clean, because there's no anti-aliasing when it's in vector, or it's very little. If we zoom in, the anti-aliasing on a vector layer is significantly reduced if we compare it to a raster layer, like so. Raster layer is going to give you a softer line weight, and it's going to anti-alias a lot more, but it means you're going to have to be a lot more careful when you're assigning colors, because you'll get a lot of bleed since it's not as heavy as solid a line. Vector also lets you kind of manipulate stuff a little bit easier than a raster layer. You can rotate and scale things, and it won't fuzz out the line art. That's the main reason why I do my line art on a vector layer. We'll save our progress. I'm not sure how far we're going to get on this one today. This is a bit of a working session because I wanted to get back to working on these characters. But if it ends up taking a full time to get through a portion of this, be it the line art, then the color assignment, we don't quite get to shading, that's fine. We can move that into another session and then always finish up. Or I could finish it offline too. Alright, now we can move down to the torso. Again, we have these armored torso guards with these eye-like stones, these minerals set into the guards. We had that a little bit on this other one. This first character we did, this female character, is from a different race as the one we're doing now. And so there's a little bit of similar design things with the armor. But on the one we're doing now, the general motif of this particular character's race is that their armor is very shell and kind of insect-like. So while the other one is a bit more kind of armor-plated, maybe kind of fantasy-esque, this type of armor is supposed to be a lot more organic-looking. And I think it's going to come out more when we actually get to color assignment and deciding a palette. For the next character that we end up doing down the road, I'm going to have to pick one that's of kind of a different style so that I can focus on a different kind of theme for an outfit and then really show the contrast. Alright, let's zoom out and take a look. Technically, I don't need to be working that close in, since there's not a lot of fine detail. So I can work a little bit further out, and then I'll probably make it go a little faster. So now we're going to do the lower torso part here. And this metal flap, this metal lower guard here. Unlike this particular design, the first one we did, which is like a metal armor piece, this sort of torso guard. This thing that sits on the hips is a similar style to the one we're doing now, but this cloth thing that's hanging down here is more decorative. It's not really going to provide any sort of armor. It's just kind of a decorative part of the outfit. Versus here, this is meant to be actual, like a heavier armor plating. Maybe not necessarily metallic, but something that's going to offer some sort of protection to the lower extremities here. Not just the whole crotchal area, but the upper thighs, anything here. And then now we have coat. This kind of lower half coat. I don't know what you call that. It's kind of an unusual garment type. So we have just a regular sort of fabric, maybe a tough fabric texture here. And then it's inset with armor plates in the same style as the rest of the outfit. So it's kind of like an armored coat. But why, there's only a lower half. It's just part of the design. I think that's an interesting idea. You're about to think about a good color palette for the coat as well. It's going to give it a color that kind of meshes with everything else. I'm thinking kind of maybe a dark greenish color, sort of like you'd see on like a military uniform. That's kind of what this outfit is becoming to me. It's kind of like a soldier's uniform, or a soldier's armor rather. It's not really a uniform. Something to be functional for combat, but could also be worn just casually too. For me, out and about, functional as regular clothing as well. Just armored clothing. A lot of the details on the lower legs themselves are obscured by this coat, but I kind of envision the model wearing maybe heavy fatigues or some sort of pants garment that's protecting the lower legs. Not something armored, since the coat and outer armor is going to be over the top of that, but some sort of functional wear underneath that we can't see. these kind of armored shoes. Experimenting around different shoe designs is also kind of interesting, just because we're dealing with essentially like alien races without getting into the specifics on this whole universe of design, and so it doesn't necessarily have to follow a lot of what you would see on Earth type convention. A lot of freedom to just experiment with ideas. That being said, I want to avoid falling into the tropes that Pink and I have discussed before when looking at other character designs where you can't tell what you're looking at and the character design or outfit just makes no sense. So that's always the challenge when doing character design. Sometimes you have really interesting ideas, but the execution is tricky because even if it's a good idea, it doesn't mean it's going to be practical in execution. Alright, I think that'll do it for the lower parts of the outfit. Now we just need to do the other arm, make it line up design-wise with the side on the left. And from there, we'll be more or less done with the line art and we can go in and do cleanup. That'll be probably the most tedious part of the whole process here. I'm going to change this. Looking at the angle, this portion that we see here on the left side is technically the outside of the garment or arm guard here. So it's not going to be symmetrical. We're going to fix that here. This side isn't going to have the minerals set in. It's on the opposite side that we're not seeing away from the camera. So capturing that detail will be good for symmetry. I could make it symmetrical. I have the choice. I could have it basically so that these stones are set on both sides, but I think I like it better if it's different. It's kind of a personal decorative choice. It has no bearing on the actual design itself. And we're gonna pull these a little bit further in. Hey, we got a chat from Medkit. Med. Hey, it's been a long time. Welcome back to the stream. I see there's a hydrate and a stretch. I hope you're doing well. We are working on character designs today and just sort of vibing and hanging out, so feel free to kick back and relax. Alright, I have to readjust this hand a little bit. Badass, how's your day? My day is going well. Been uneventful for a Sunday. That's why I hesitate. Not much going on. Pretty chill day. Get to jump on and do some drawing and hang out with a lot of you. So that's the highlight of my day today. And then back to the grind tomorrow. I'm going to leave that hand there. I'm going to come back to that and figure out if I want to really mess around with the position or just leave it kind of obscured. It's not super critical because it's off. Kind of partially obscured by the body, but I want to make sure I'm not just copping out and putting just like a lump there that has no details or features. We'll figure that out. Matt says, oh god, yeah, it's Monday already. That's right. You're in a time zone ahead of me. Well, I hope your Monday is going well. Here in the States, we're getting to the time of year when we get close to the holidays. We got Thanksgiving coming up in a couple weeks. And so things usually slow down, but at my particular job, they have not slowed down. In fact, without getting into the details, since that's probably boring to you folks, the holidays are working against us because we have some important stuff that needs to get done, and people are going to be out for holidays coming up soon, which makes our schedule difficult. Case in point, it's Veterans Day here in the United States on Friday, so everybody was off, and I would have actually preferred that it not be a holiday because we had stuff to do, which is blasphemy. I know. I wouldn't normally say something like that, but working on some critical projects at the old Earth job. But it is what it is. Matt says starts in 5 minutes, so I don't know. Sunday's been okay. I'm home again and can watch you. Well, that's good. Like I said, it's been well, I wouldn't say you haven't missed much. You know, it's been business as usual around here. We do the same sort of thing we've been doing. Just kind of hanging out and vibing. And I know you know this, Med, since I've seen you over there, but all of the archives for the stuff we've done here on stream are on YouTube. It's kind of like a living record of all the stuff we do here. So if you ever feel so compelled to figure out what we did or whatnot, then the record is there. Probably the most noteworthy thing content-wise from October would have been the release of the October BGM pack. And that's over on YouTube as well. That was a fun project to work on, and I'm really looking forward to the next couple. There will be another music pack coming out in a couple weeks this month before the end of November. And that's going to be a mix of the BGM tracks we've made here on stream with the help of chat. And so, kind of like the first one, which came out a while ago, the BGM 2.0 pack is going to be mostly beatboxing type sounds made with the loop and stuff we've made on streams. Just took me a while to compile all the ones over the last year, and that will be coming out at the end of the month. I'll be putting a teaser for the album art on Twitter, maybe later today if I have time to post it so people can see what's coming. And so that'll be a good addition to the BGM playlist. And I'm already working on the next big music project, which is going to be a themed BGM pack, a big one. Probably the biggest one I've done so far, easily. And that's going to be coming out at the beginning of 2023. Don't have a date yet because I'm currently working with some collaborators on that one, but it's going to be big. It's going to be a big project, and I'm really looking forward to it. We've kind of done some snippets here and there of the type of songs I'm putting into that one on stream. It is a kind of fantasy RPG themed pack using the synthesizer primarily. I don't have it hooked up today, but the synthesizer and instruments are what I use to construct all the tracks there, so they'll be very different from what we've done so far, but it should be interesting. I'm really looking forward to that one. There'll be more details as we probably get into the end of the year / beginning of the new year, but yeah, that's what my focus is right now. Matt says, I listen to your music though, literally every day. Wouldn't be surprised my Spotify and record says I listen to you the most. Oh, that's very kind of you. I appreciate that a lot, Med. I use the playlist that I created just for stream content. If I need to put stuff on in the background, and putting it on places like Spotify was a way to do that and have it in one spot as opposed to always having to run it from my computer. But like I said before, people are free to use my BGM stuff for their own streams and their content as long as they don't take credit for it. But that's why it's there. So I'm glad you enjoy the beats. Med says, oh my god, I'm so excited. Yeah, that project coming up in the new year is going to be fun. I've teased some of the tracks on the jam streams when we've been working on them up till now, but I haven't really given much info. Just that it's like a fantasy / JRPG style of music. It's not for like an actual game, but that is the inspiration. So if you played old school like Super Nintendo RPG type stuff, that was the inspiration for wanting to create that. And it's been a lot of fun working on those tracks. And so more to come. Beyond that, there's a lot of stuff I want to do in 2023 music-wise. I'd like to do an electronic album next. There's two genres I think I talked about this last jam stream briefly. But there's two main genres of music I want to make stuff for in 2023. First one would be like electronic, maybe dance, synthwave, techno-ish type stuff. A bit more focused than the type of stuff I do here. And then the other style would be a trip-hop album. Something more smooth and down-tempo and kind of like jazzy hip-hop-ish. Those are the two things I'd like to do in 2023, music project-wise. But still a ways away, and got a lot of ideas. So we'll see. Should be a fun ride. Med says, 2023 feels so unreal even though it's so near. Yes, I agree. Seems like 2022 was gone in the blink of an eye. And a lot's happened. And I feel like it's been a really interesting year in this VTubing project of mine. And I started this in late 2021? I've been doing this for almost 2 years already. I guess 2023 would be 2 years. But I started on YouTube, so the timeline's a little bit hazy. I started on Twitch technically at the beginning of this year, and so the fact that things have grown this much just on this channel in about a year is pretty crazy, and I owe it to all of you folks. So you have my thanks. I appreciate all of you for tuning in and hanging out and just generally vibing. Nocturnal asks, so is this an OC? Yes. All of the character design stuff you see me working on, unless I tell you otherwise or it's for a project, these are original character designs. Now, the character doesn't have a name, before you ask, but yeah, these are all original character designs that we're experimenting with for the sake of practicing drawing outfits and doing character concepts. Med says, yes, really a lot happened, and only a year. And Med asks, anyways, why are you so talented? I'm just a dude on the internet, man. Like, one thing I find interesting whenever new people show up to these streams is I think they have a tough time figuring out what I'm about here on Twitch, because we do a little bit of everything. I kind of promote myself as a quote unquote variety streamer, but it really just depends on what I feel like doing. Sometimes we do a lot of gaming videos. We do beatbox jam streams every other week or so. We do chilling streams where I rank things on tier lists and get canceled for my bad food opinions. We do drawing streams where I draw creatures or characters. So it's a little bit of everything. It's hard to say, but kind of to Med's point, I mostly just wanted to create a place where I can make the stuff I want to make and create a chill environment for people to come and hang out. You know, it doesn't need to be anything more complex than that. I like to make things, and having a place to make things where people can come along for the ride is even more fun. Plus, I like asking you folks for ideas every once in a while, especially when we work on music. Alright, so now the boring part of the drawing process. I'm going to be going through the line art and cleaning up bits and making sure there's no missing spots or whatnot before we get to colors. So I'll be just kind of sweeping through and cleaning stuff up and keeping an eye on the chat, since there's not much for me to say. This is easily the most tedious part. Med says, on the content side, music, drawing, talking, gaming, making people safe, and your weird liquid meals, and sport? I don't think I ever talked about sport. But liquid meals, yeah. I was drinking a smoothie earlier today. That was part of my lunch. I'm drinking a gamer fuel product now. This isn't a gut fuel product. This is that gamer fart one I keep talking about from Gamer Sups. Tastes like Baja Blast. I quite like it. Matt says, you know what I'm waiting for? An IRL stream where you cook. I'm convinced you're a chef cook. I've thought about doing a cooking stream. The problem is I don't have the hardware to really do a multiple camera setup. But one thing I'm thinking about doing, and you folks in the chat can let me know if you think this is an interesting idea, and I can put it on the docket for next year on a content type, because I'm already doing some planning. There's some new content ideas I'm kicking around and doing some planning for next year, and trying to figure out the logistics. But in place of doing like an IRL cooking stream where, you know, you have a camera set up and you can see what I'm doing, because I would need a way to be able to have my VTuber model active and tracking while I'm showing what's going on in my kitchen, and I have the space for it, but not the hardware. That's what makes it difficult. But the idea I had in place of that would be if we had a cooking discussion stream where I present, like, maybe not necessarily a PowerPoint, but if that's the way I want to do it, I could, where I talk about recipes with all of you. And so it's not going to be showing you how to cook it, but it's going to be walking through all the steps of the recipe, and then if you want to write it down, or I can make them available later, it's basically going to be like a presentation on here's how you cook a dish, and I can do pictures and everything else so you can see that. And then basically I'm giving you a cooking instruction overview as opposed to a hands-on lesson. Like if I said, hey, here's how you cook this dish, here's everything you need, and here's how everything works, and kind of give you an A to Z on that. That's one thing I've been thinking about. So if you think that's interesting, let me know. Med says, I'd watch that 100%. Do it. I want it. That should be your birthday present to me. All right. Well, I'll give that some thought, because I'm already working on a new content type for next year that's going to use presentation format. So I might be able to co-op that and convert it into something for cooking type stuff too. So we will see. I've talked a bit, kind of briefly, about the other major content type I'm looking at doing, and that's doing a presentation slash show format talking about Japanese music, which is one of my passions. I love Japanese music and I love talking about it, and so it would be kind of like I can't show media because I'll get DMCA'd like into oblivion, but I can show pictures and give recommendations for artists, songs, and material, and point them to places where you can get at them. Like I'd only link to stuff that you can get like on YouTube and is available. So if people want to go and check out the stuff that's in the presentation, they can just go do that by clicking on things. And there's a lot of things I could say about Japanese music. So that's kind of the main type of content I want to develop for next year. But Raku's cooking recipes. Raku's recipes. That could be something we do too. I will think about it. Med says, yes, I'm excited. I have a question. What's your question, Med? Fire away. Not that you need my permission. You can ask a question at any time. I'm just doing line art cleanup. So fire when ready. Med asks, what can't you do, or is anything you're bad at? I'm just a regular person on the internet like everybody else. I am not good at sports. That's why I don't really talk about sports. I don't have an interest in sports. I can't remember which stream you're talking about from earlier. If you can remember and want to mention it, that'll jog my memory. But athletic stuff I'm not good at. That's why you don't see me doing like parkour on stream or anything like that. If we get into the specifics for cooking, again, I used to be a cook in my previous occupation. Not a chef, mind you. I didn't go to school, but I was a cook in a commercial kitchen. But I suck at baking. All right, it's one thing I want to learn, especially since I have some hardware for it now. But when it comes to cooking, I'm not good at baking. I'll be 100% honest with you folks. I want to get better at it because baking is really fascinating to me. I'm just not good at it. I also want to get better at grilling, but I've been working on that since I do have a grill. We're getting into the cold and annoying part of the season where I live in the States, so my ability to grill is going to be kind of restricted since the weather's worse. Let's see. What else am I not good at? It's not really something I think about super often, but I consider myself okay at singing. I want to get better at it. Hopefully we'll be able to do more karaoke streams in the future. We've done one. It was in the spring? I want to say in the spring. But I feel like I rap better than I sing. But there's always room for improvement. Med says you can bake. Oh wow. No, I said I'm not good at baking. I want to learn. We're talking about things I'm not good at. I'm not good at baking. I want to get better at it. It's the most precise type of cooking. You can kind of experiment around with a lot of other types, but baking is really specific in a lot of ways. You can't, swap one thing out for another or kind of just improvise on certain recipes, or you will get very different results than what you intended. Med says, also, I've always been wondering what your nationality is, like jeans. I forgot the word or whatever the rest. Well, like we've talked about before, I'm not originally from Earth. I'm an alien. I only live on Earth. Nationality-wise, by country, I live in the United States. I might be clear by the way I talk. I don't really have a discernible accent. Med says, but what alien? Ah, uh, that's a fair question. Um, we've talked about it here on stream before, but it has been a minute. So we could sidebar to talk a little bit about that. We do a little bit of a lore update. My home planet is called Homeworld. And Homeworlders don't look like humans. When I came here in 2001 to this planet and got the human form you see here on the stream, that was so I could live here and avoid getting hauled off to Area 51. But the Homeworlder race looks very different. I've never shown what my Homeworlder form looks like, because I kind of want to do like an actual VTuber thing with it. But we've done some concept sketches earlier on to show what the Homeworlder race looks like. So that's what you're asking, man. You're asking what the Homeworlder race looks like. So I could show you. We've done some model drawing of what people on Homeworld look like. This isn't what I look like per se, but similar. We've got two different styles, just two different colors of this first one here. And maybe we should return to the Homeworlder study at some point. But we did the same thing we're doing with the regular human characters, and that we took the basic model. These are naked, so don't ban me, Twitch. But we experimented with outfits from Homeworld, armor and clothing and whatnot, and then we did the same exercise that we're doing now, but with these forms. These were just an example that we did on stream to show what the body types look like, 2 body types, but we also did clothing on a different stream too. And Med says, why do they look so cute? I couldn't tell you. Maybe it's the faces. The Homeworlder type is kind of a little bit reptilian, but not, totally reptilian, kind of a mix of features, because, reptiles don't have hair. Med says, ethnicity. That's the word I searched. Ah, I see. So this is answering your question as far as the ethnicity, genetics. This is a sample of what some Homeworlders look like. And so thanks for asking. We haven't talked about this in a while. It's probably been like 8 months. But we should probably get back to that at some point. I actually have, I don't think it's on this machine. I might have to scan it. I might have done it on pencil on paper. But me, personally, what I look like in Homeworld form, I do have drawn out. It's just not a fully rendered thing and no one's seen it yet. But maybe in the future. Because what I wanted to do, and it's not a secret, but what I wanted to do was have another VTuber model that was a Homeworld form that I could switch to for special occasions. But we've been so busy, I haven't really thought about the logistics of doing so, and I'd have to hire someone. I can't do VTuber model rigging at all. I need to hire someone to draw it out and rig it. But you never know. That might be something for the future. So anyway, that was a very long-winded way of answering your question about genetics. But culturally, the only real culture that I'm familiar with is American culture. So I could tell you quite a bit about that. And I studied Japanese in Earth School, so technically I could tell you a little bit about that too, but I've never been there. I would like to go to Japan now that they've opened up post-COVID, but I've not been there yet. Okay, moving on to the lower extremities. And just continue to do the line art cleanup and see if we've missed any sections. Med asked, do you know what advent calendars are? Also, don't worry, you answered my question like I wanted it. Yes. I do know what advent calendars are. We have them here in America land. I haven't actually owned one in a long time, but they're like a kind of a calendar countdown, and the American advent calendars be like the days until Christmas or something like that. And each day you have a thing on the calendar you open up and it gives you like candy. I don't know if they have that style where you're from, but similar concept, right? Med says you should do one on your stream account. You mean like a countdown? Ah, I see. Like every day there's some sort of tweet or surprise. You know, if I was better at planning, then I could have done something like that for... Well, technically we're not in December yet. One thing I've done on Twitter before, it's been almost a year now since I've done it, and it was a decent amount of work. I'm not gonna lie, it was fun, but it was a lot of work. But I did a challenge for an entire month, for 30 or 31 days, however many days were in that month, where I did daily beats. And they were real quick, less than a minute. They were technically short length, but shorts had just become a thing, so I didn't do them on YouTube as shorts, but I probably could. And so every day for a month, I uploaded a new beatboxing beat pattern routine, about a minute, and the challenge was to do something new every single day for an entire month. And it was pretty fun. Again, there's a lot of work to record and edit and upload and make sure I didn't miss anything. But I would like to do that again at some point. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that for December since it's coming up. But one thing I've been thinking about doing, it's not necessarily like an advent calendar event, but it is something special for the month. I was thinking about doing fighting game month in December. And I'm still trying to figure out the logistics and if I want to do that. But that would be an entire month of focus here on Twitch and maybe on the YouTube channel external to Twitch too. An entire month devoted to focusing on fighting games, which is one of my favorite genres and one I talk about a lot. And so it would be streams of different fighting games, showing them off, maybe playing against other people. There's some members of our community here who do play fighting games, so we might be able to do like a free match type thing where people jump on and we all play together. But it'd be like a themed focus of content for a month, and it'd be good for December because I will have some time off and I'll be able to stream a little more towards the middle of the month. Definitely more so than November. November's kind of a mess due to work. But if we did that, then it'd be kind of a focus on that type of content for a month. That's what I'm kicking around now. Haven't decided yet. I will make that decision by the end of the month. So if I end up doing that, you'll see it on Twitter. Med says, that would be cool. I'd like to see stuff with fighting who aren't all shooter. Yeah, I don't play shooters at all. I've shown off one game on stream here in October for Halloween. That was a shooter that I really liked. It was the Metal Hellsinger one. But in general, I'm really bad at competitive shooters. That one's like a single player one. But competitive shooters I'm terrible at. That's why you don't see me playing them. I don't have good enough reflexes to get those headshots, as it were. But fighting games I liked a lot. I'm much better at those. I played a lot of them. So we'll see. I will do some more planning and think about the options. That says, thank you. I have the biggest uncomfortable thing with shooters. It's so loud. That makes sense. I could see that. For me, it's the speed. Like the speed and movement of the games is so fast. I get dizzy playing some shooters. But if they're single player ones, depending on how compelling I find them, I can usually manage. But competitive ones, I'm just not good at. I get smoked on competitive shooters. the new Doom that came out. And was it 2020? Was it that old already? But the new Doom is really fun. I haven't beaten that one, but I did enjoy that one. But I didn't play it competitively. I just played the single player. I should go back and beat that. Doom Eternal. That's what I'm thinking of. 21 or 2020. I don't remember. Med says, now Raku feels old. I am old. I've been here since the dawn of time. I blame the US government for giving me an old human body when I got here. Alright. Let's take stock of where we're at. I think we're making good time. Matt asked, are you 500 million already? No? You're not old? Well, it's all relative. I wake up every day, something new hurts. Alright. Save this. We can also clean up line art on the fly if I missed any areas, but from here we should be able to move forward and start looking at colors. Man says, I take it back, you're getting old. Thanks. You're not wrong, though. Matt asked, do you have blue hair IRL? If you mean in Homeworld form versus the form you see here on camera, yes. That's partly how I chose this particular model. And it says human form. Well, the form you see here on the stream is the human form. There's only two forms. That one and the Homeworld form, they both have blue hair. Alright, now I gotta see if I can even form... Okay, that'll work. While we're talking, and those are good questions, keep the questions coming. While we're talking, I'm going to move into color assignment. So we're going to start form filling the different sections for color. And so hair... I said I wanted to go for kind of a pale-ish green. So we can experiment around with a shade that's going to work and also still let us see the outline. We don't want it to be darker than the outline. Med asks, can you draw yourself in Homeworld form one day? Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. I just don't have a drawing on this machine. Because I wanted to do something with it as far as creating a VTuber model. But because that's not super high priority on the list, maybe we'll just talk about that later. So yes, short answer is yes. It's not going to be a big reveal, but maybe we can talk about that as part of a drawing stream in the future. But yes, good question. In fact, you might be the first or only person to ask me about that. We don't really talk about it often here. It's been a while. Alright, now skin tones. Skin tones are always a bit of a challenge. We can use the one from this previous model and we'll adjust the shade a little bit. In fact, let me zoom in here. I want to go a little bit darker complexion for the male model, different race. And then I gotta start separating our layers too. Call this hair. This one will be skin. So these are all separate layers so that we're able to adjust these if you want to switch up the shades on the fly without having to recolor everything else at once. Med says, Med is back. These questions are also, and there's nothing wrong with that. Not that it's happened before, but if there's ever a question that I can't answer, I'll let you folks know. I don't like being coy when it comes to interacting with all of you, so I'll let you know if I can't answer a question. That's a little too dark. Better. Okay. It's pretty subtly different. Doesn't need to be completely different. Just a little bit more of a medium skin tone. Matt asks, what do aliens eat? Depends on the type of aliens you're asking about. If you're asking about Homeworld aliens, the type of food they normally eat, I could speak to that. But for other aliens, you'd have to ask them. Med asks, does the skin tone look sick on purpose? Well, the skin tone we're going for here is a little bit darker, but actually, one thing, hold on, I gotta do something. That might be a reason why it looks unusual. I have my light filter turned on my computer, and that affects what I can actually see. Let me turn that off. I forgot to do that for the stream. It's a blue light filter. I turn it on in the evening so that I can sleep easier. But it means my entire screen is a different shade because of that blue light filter. And so that's why now I can see. Okay, I see what you're saying with the skin tone. Good thing you mentioned that, because I would have kept drawing and I wouldn't have even been able to tell. But that should be easy to manipulate. Because we're working on its own layer, we can color correct pretty easily. And yep, that would be why. There we go. Gonna be a little bit darker in shade from the previous character, but now it's not quite so pale. So good call, Med. And we have a first time chat from Lame Dad 2. Lame Dad 2 asks, what are you making? We are working on character concepts for practice purposes. Let me zoom out here. And so throughout the different streams up till now, we have taken different sketches. Here, I'll kind of hide what I'm doing here. We've taken character outfit sketches. Here's the one we're using. And designed different outfits for this particular character and tried to figure out which one we want to use. And then once we have that sketch decided, then we go in and do the line art and coloring and shading, which is what we're doing now. We're doing colors. And so I guess the short answer would be character concept designs. That's what we're doing here on stream. But welcome. Hopefully it's interesting. Med says, looks more alive now. Yeah, that's exactly why. It's because I had my light filter on, so I couldn't see my colors accurately. So thank you for reminding me to turn that off. All right, now let's do a layer for armor, clothing armor. And I kind of want, it's a little bit easier for me to mouse select these. Let me move my tablet here. Problem is I have to move my keyboard because my keyboard's not in front of me. I have to have my drawing tablet is flipped down on my desk when I'm drawing, and it takes up so much space I can't have my keyboard in front of me. So I have my tablet in front of me, my keyboard off to the side, and it's a little bit of a stretch, but that's okay. I can still reach it. So for the armor itself, what I had mentioned before was that it's supposed to be kind of like a shell, like an insect shell type of texture. So I'm thinking a sandy kind of tan color for this armor plating, some of it. And then we play around with different shades for the colors. Let's see, maybe we can go kind of a grayish tan. I don't want it to be too muted because then it'll look boring. But like we did for the skin tone, as we drop colors in here, we can tweak the shades on the fly by using the contrast and hue sliders. So it's not necessarily locked in. Okay, like that better. So we can use this as a primary, and then we could put in a secondary layer of color that's similar shade. We don't want to go for something that contrasts too much. We're going for kind of these tan, brownish shades. We don't want to suddenly put neon pink in there. Maybe we can go for kind of a mellow orangish color. For this part protecting underneath, which is also going to be here. This is like an armored shirt. Armored shirt slash bodysuit. For this one, maybe we can go for something a bit darker. Maybe like a grayish purple. It would be too out there of a color. There, it'll look more like a kind of a tougher material. We don't want to look, again, bright. Gloves, for this kind of cliched fingerless gloves, we can just go kind of a dark grayish color. Plating the trailing edge of the coat, same sort of color. Now for the coat protecting the lower legs, this one maybe we go dark, kind of a dark gray green. This is going to be a similar color to the pants and fatigues. It's like kind of going for a similar type of material, so hence the colors should be somewhat similar. Let's see how that looks. Not necessarily camo colors, but similar. Like there won't be a camo pattern or anything. Okay, that's not bad. We go slightly darker shade for this part behind that's shadowed. Yeah, I'm gonna go a little darker on that. That'll work. Now the shoes. And the plating on the shoes. And let's see, these parts of the arm guards, these kind of bladed things here. Maybe go one shade darker than the main parts of the armor here. Yeah, there we go. That'll work. And for the decorative jewels, we'll figure out a good color contrast that's not going to clash too much with everything else. Med says, I need sleep now, though. Good night, Haraku. So nice talking to you again. All right, Med. Hope you have a restful night's sleep. Thanks again for tuning in and hanging out. It was great talking with you, like you said. So hope you have a good rest of your evening and week. I will catch you next time. Thinking pale yellow-ish. Maybe go kind of like an amber color. Just like an orange amber color. That might be a good contrast, but not too bright. We don't want it to... That says also maybe make the beige foot part also in the color of the wings. Yeah, I was thinking of that too, because I just put that shade in there. Down here. Because that'll give it some contrast with the little buckled part above. That's a good idea. There you go. Yeah. Now it doesn't blend in quite so much. But let's see. Let's try this as a color. If I don't like it, I can always just tweak the levels. Yeah, that's not bad. We will fill the rest of these accordingly. save our progress here. Another thing I forgot. It's kind of a critical design element for this particular race and this character. And I can, let's see, drop this down to like 5 or 4. Where'd my stylus go? This particular race has these lines on their faces. They're like lines on their skin that show their genetic lines. So we need to make sure we add that. These are kind of like runic marks. And I want to make sure it's not looking just like I'm putting tier lines or something like that. That's not the point of these. They do go all the way up to the hairline. And we can shade these accordingly. These are kind of the equivalent of birthmarks. And each family has the same type of marks on their face that kind of shows their bloodlines. I will leave them like that for now. Doesn't need to be super complicated. And I'll have to remember that when I shade this. But now we can go in and do cleanup on the color layer. This might be the last thing I do. Let's see how long it takes. Oh, we want to be down here. Doing the shading layer is going to take a lot more time, so I'd rather just do the cleanup, and then we can always finish up the shading in another stream and then not rush it. Well, could switch up the BGM for the last portion of the stream too. What I'm doing is I'm just messing around with the beat repeat to see if I can get a good variation on the rhythm. But let me see if I try scatter instead. Yeah, that's not bad. you lose the hat and the other part of the snare, that's fine. We'll leave it there for the rest of the stream. All right. Now we're going to go through and just look for any sections that might need to be cleaned up on the color side. And then what we can do is we'll zoom out and then we'll take a look at the main color levels and see if we need to adjust anything. Fortunately, because we did this using a vector line art, it fills really easily. That's why I did the form selecting when adding all the color instead of doing it by hand. Because it's a vector layer and you don't have to deal with the anti-aliasing, it makes the color fill a lot easier. Well, let's see. Make sure I'm on the right layer. There's a couple overflow sections just when we drop the form fill in here where it bleeds a little bit and we just have to clean it up, but by and large it's not really a big issue because of the vector layer. So that's good. That saves me some time on the cleanup here. Alright, let's zoom out and take kind of a final stock in what we've done here. This will be kind of like our wrap up before we call it a stream for today. I got my keyboard in front of me, so now I can do things a little bit easier. Alright, we'll take the armor layer, and like we've done for alternate color palettes, we're going to go into Hue, Saturation, Luminosity here in Clip Studio, and see if there's any alterations we wanted to make to the overall clothing color palette. Skin tone, I think, is fine. I don't really want to mess around with that too much. Okay, well, we don't really need to up the saturation. That's just going to make the colors more vibrant and intense. And overall, this palette's a bit more muted compared to some other ones, so we don't need it to be super bright. Alright, upping the hue. No, that's skewing more towards green. Okay, that darkens the colors a little. That's not bad. Gives us a couple shades darker, but it doesn't really get into purple territory. Let's drop that down -7. I think that'll be good there. Once we finish this particular image, we do the alts Then we can go for some more variety when it comes to the colors. If we want to do like a purple palette or like a red, then we could straight up just alter the color balance a little bit. We can mess with color balance too. We move it more towards green. It's gonna get us back towards, yeah. Nah, I don't think we need to mess with the color balance too much. I think it's fine the way it is. When I do alts, I'll either do hue and saturation, or I'll go into color balance too and see where we can push things as far as the color spectrum if we want to do an alternate color palette. But we won't do that until all the shading and everything else is done. So for now, we will leave it the way it is. And if we compare, again, we haven't done the eyes yet. Once we do all of the shading, I'll go in and do the eyes. That's kind of the last thing I do in these drawings. It's the trickiest part. And we did that for this particular character. We're done with her for now. But I think we've captured the details of everything on here pretty on par with the sketch. The only thing we really altered was the arm position slightly. Move the arm in just a hair, and we changed the texturing on the upper arms to be more of a bodysuit, a textured bodysuit instead of this unusual plating here. But everything else is more or less unchanged. And so when we pick up on this one next time, or if I do it offline, the next step is putting in all of the shading on the hair, skin tones, and then on the armor and clothing, and then that'll be it for this one. And so I think it'll be a little bit short of our normal kind of 2-ish hour block, but we'll go ahead and call it there. We need to get some stuff done for the end of this Sunday evening here. So let's see who's online to raid, and then we will wrap up. Let's see. Oh, VTuber Truckchan is karaoke party. Oh, that definitely sounds like fun. Let's do this. Let me get everything loaded, and we'll go raid Truckchan and see what they're up to. So let me go ahead and turn off the BGM. We'll go ahead and mute this, and we'll go to outro. To Truckchan and see how the karaoke is doing. So, wrapping up today. Thanks again to everybody who came and hung out while we worked through the character study. I have not figured out the stream schedule for next week. Next week's schedule might be a little weird because of some stuff I got going on outside of streaming. We might do Thursday, Friday, Sunday again. Like 2 Fridays off in a row essentially, so we'll see. The schedule will go up on Twitter for the end of the day today. So once again, thanks for hanging out. Now let's go and raid Truckchan. So have yourselves a good evening, and I'll catch you in the next one.